I'd rather stand with God and be judged by the world than stand with the world and be judged by God. These words, spoken by Karoline Leavitt in the heat of an unexpected confrontation, have now become a rallying cry for millions. But what led to this powerful declaration? And how did a moment of public ridicule transform into a testament of unshakable faith? The story behind these words is even more compelling than the quote itself. The studio lights blazed with an intensity that matched the palpable tension in the air. Karoline Leavitt, poised and composed, settled into her chair, unaware of the storm that was about to break. Her years of media experience had prepared her for tough interviews, but nothing could have readied her for what was about to unfold. The interview began innocuously, with standard questions about policy and politics. Then, without warning, the host unleashed a blatant and disrespectful joke about Jesus Christ. The studio fell silent, crew members exchanging nervous glances. Karoline's reaction was visceral and immediate, her eyes widening in shock, her jaw tightening as the weight of the insult settled upon her. In that frozen instant, Karoline's mind raced. Her faith, a cornerstone of her identity, had been mocked on national television. Drawing upon her experiences at Fox News and Hearst Television, she recalled techniques for maintaining composure under pressure. She visualized a mental shield, imagining the host's words bouncing off harmlessly. Her breath steadied as she silently recited a mantra from her media training. Respond, don't react. Karoline knew that her response would be crucial, not just for herself, but for millions of viewers who shared her beliefs. With a grace that belied the tumult within, she straightened in her chair. Her eyes, previously wide with shock, now burned with quiet intensity. When she spoke, her voice was clear and unwavering, carrying the strength of her convictions. "I'm disappointed," she began, her tone measured but firm, "that you would choose to mock the cornerstone of my faith and the beliefs of millions of Americans. But I'm not surprised. Your attempt to provoke me reveals more about your character than it does about the strength of my convictions." The host's smug expression faltered, clearly unprepared for such a composed and articulate response. Karoline continued, her words gaining momentum as she spoke. She deftly turned the tables, using the host's mockery as a springboard to discuss the importance of respect and understanding in public discourse. As Karoline spoke, the studio atmosphere transformed. What had begun as a moment of shock was evolving into a powerful testament to faith, resilience, and the courage to stand firm in one's beliefs. The crew watched in awe as this young politician, initially cast as the underdog, rose to the occasion with grace and eloquence. Karoline's voice rang out like a clarion call, clear and unwavering. She stood tall, shoulders back, facing her challenger with a composure that seemed to emanate from her very core. The host, caught off guard, attempted to interject, but Karoline's focus held firm, her years of media training shining through as she commanded the moment. With a depth of conviction that seemed to radiate from within, Karoline began her defense. "You may mock what you don't understand," she said, her eyes locked on the host, "but let me share with you a truth that has guided me through every challenge." She paused, allowing the anticipation to build. In Proverbs 15:1, it says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Today, I choose to respond not with anger, but with the gentle strength of my convictions. The biblical reference hung in the air, unexpected and powerful. Karoline continued, "My faith isn't just a political stance. It's woven into the very fabric of who I am." She then shared a personal story that caught everyone by surprise. "I grew up working in my family's small business. Every day I saw my parents pour their hearts into serving our community. That's where I learned that faith and hard work go hand in hand. It's about living your values every single day." The studio fell silent, hanging on her every word. Karoline's ability to pivot from emotional appeal to logical argument was on full display. "So when you mock my faith," she continued, her voice gaining strength, "you're dismissing the very foundation that has shaped me into the person I am today. The person who stands before you unafraid to defend what's right, even in the face of ridicule." The tension in the studio was palpable as Karoline approached her most powerful point. The host, who had begun the interview with such confidence, now seemed to shrink in his seat, unprepared for the eloquence and conviction of his guest. "In the end," Karoline said, her voice resonating with clarity and purpose, "it's about standing firm in one's convictions, treating others with respect, and being a beacon of hope in a world that desperately needs it. And that, sir, is something no amount of mockery can diminish." The studio fell silent as Karoline's words hung in the air, their weight palpable. The once confident host now sat rigid, his facade cracking under the pressure of her unwavering conviction. Desperate to regain control, the host leaned forward, his trademark smirk now a forced grimace. "Miss Leavitt," he began, his voice straining for its usual authoritative tone, "surely you can't expect everyone to share your quaint beliefs. In this day and age, isn't it time we moved past such outdated notions?" Karoline's eyes, alight with purpose, met his challenge head-on. "With all due respect," she replied, her voice steady and clear, "the strength of one's convictions isn't determined by their popularity or age. My faith is a living, breathing part of who I am and how I approach the world." The host's jaw clenched, frustration mounting. "Come now, Miss Leavitt. Surely you can't believe in talking snakes and magic apples. It's all just fairy tales, isn't it?" Karoline leaned forward, her gaze unwavering. "Sir, your attempt to reduce millennia of faith, philosophy, and moral guidance to fairy tales says more about your understanding than it does about the depth of these beliefs." The power dynamic in the studio began to shift. Karoline's voice grew stronger, more assured. "The Bible, regardless of one's personal beliefs, has shaped civilizations, inspired great works of art and literature, and provided comfort and guidance to billions. To dismiss it so flippantly is to ignore its profound impact on human history and culture." The host's usual wit failed him. But surely in your position, you must see the need for separation of church and state," he stammered. Karoline's response was measured, yet powerful. "The separation of church and state is about preventing the government from mandating religious beliefs, not about erasing faith from public life. My faith informs my values and decision-making, just as your worldview informs yours. The difference is, I'm not ashamed to acknowledge it." As the interview neared its climax, tension crackled in the studio air. The host's shoulders slumped, his bravado deflating. In a moment of rare vulnerability, he admitted, I suppose I never considered it from that perspective." The admission, however subtle, was deafening in its impact. The studio crew exchanged meaningful glances, their expressions a mix of shock and admiration. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically, with Karoline now commanding the conversation with grace and authority. As the dust settled on this unexpected confrontation, viewers were left with a profound sense of awe. Karoline Leavitt's unwavering response had not only defended her beliefs, but also challenged the nature of public discourse. Her words echoed in the minds of millions. "Defending my beliefs is not just a personal choice, it's a responsibility I carry for my community and my faith." The interview became a catalyst for introspection and dialogue. In a world often characterized by division, Karoline's steadfast convictions served as a reminder of the enduring impact of standing firm in one's beliefs. Her grace and strength left an indelible impression, prompting many to reflect on their own convictions and the courage required to uphold them. As viewers pondered this powerful moment, they were left to consider, how might they too stand up for their beliefs with such unwavering resolve?